in the spirit of this being an instant reaction podcast, I feel we should say to everyone that when the credits rolled, I went, fuck!
My first note is, can confirm that this is not a transitional episode.
And you said last week that you had enjoyed the first 2 episodes, but you were ready for the plot to move on.
Yes.
So much plot, I can't remember what's happened. It's like, you were writing down notes, and I'm so pleased you were, because I was just going with it and then thinking, but what else? And I couldn't go back, and then I was like, but the goats and the other things, like, where do you start?
Can I be controversial that I have massive concerns? I think this might be too much too soon.
Do you think so? Well, it is, isn't it? It is. I think that's why that's the reaction of like, this was not where this was meant to go.
This is raising the alarm bells, and in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
Of course we want this. I would have been happy to some of the reveals that we've had this episode. I'd be happy if they were like spread out throughout the entire season. What the fuck have they got for the finale?
Well,
if
this is what I'm thinking.
What we've got on episode 3.
When is her name Regabe? I don't know.
Regabe.
Regabe. When Regabe showed up at his car, and there was the question mark. This happens a lot. It's dark. People are in cars, and the question mark of Gemma came up, just like it did with Cobell.
Yes.
The last time round, I thought that would be the ending. There's sort of like, a bit like the last episode where he was shouting at Cobell, like, what do you know about, do you know anything about Gemma? And she just didn't give him anything and therefore gave him something. I thought the same thing would happen here.
But
the last time I saw her, she was alive. What?
That this has been so much plot just happening in an hour. We might struggle to fit this into half an hour.
I know.
But anyway, first of all, Stone Roses.
And when it started, doom, 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 and I thought, why is Cobell listening to Manny? And what's Ian Brown doing on a tape in her, the world's oldest car, I think that she's got?
And John Squires doing. You see, last week we're talking about Samuel Donovan, who was the director, who's done a lot of British work. I assume he is British. There's not a lot of information about him online, but I assumed he was directing this episode, because later on we see Danger Mouse on a telly.
Yeah.
There's some Anglophile is doing this, yeah. Crumbs, Chief. What's Danger Mouse doing there? I feel we're starting at a really weird point.
I think it's a really weird episode.
Yeah. Let's go through it bit by bit. Mark and Helly.
Innie, Mark and Helly.
Yeah, Innie, Mark and Helly. Go to find some goats.
Yeah. That was it was like an episode of folk horror just plopped into Severance.
Yeah, so anyone there, obviously they find Gwendolyn Christie.
Yeah, of course.
As part of the mammalian nurturing department.
Yeah, I think it's mammalian nurture.
Yeah.
Is that what she's got? I mean, we rewound it and we put the subtitles on
to
and
work out what the hell she said.
Still haven't got a clue what.
Well, I made a note, but I've apparently written over that note at some
Okay.
point. So that's not right.
But yeah, this seemed to be a motley crew of people who look after the goats. Definitely designed that it's like a folk, like people who look like they haven't had a wash in a while.
Yeah, they almost look feral.
Yeah.
I mean, Gwendolyn Christie's character has got scratches on her face, wearing a lovely headscarf.
Like a milkmaid
and
sort of outfit.
When Helly and Mark come in and say, "Have you seen this woman? Have you seen this boy?" She rings a bell, a lumen bell.
Yeah, like a cowbell
and
sort of thing.
Her motley crew come out who...
From over the hills,
yes.
like from the fields.
There's a Belgian horror. I think it's Belgian. It might be Dutch, called like Calvaire or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it very much reminds me of the people who are in that. There's a really weird scene in a pub where someone's playing the piano and then a group of very odd farmer people do a little dance in the middle of the pub. It's one of the most threatening things you'll ever see without it being threatening.
Understood.
Yeah.
And then you've got well, I'm going to call Black Phillip with a reference to the witch. There's this black goat. If you haven't seen The Witch, there's a goat in that which they call Black Phillip. I am right in that, aren't I?
It's been a while since I've seen it, but that rings a bell,
and he is like their goat, and it turns out that, he's not a good goat. And he raises up, and he's like a man with a goat head, and he's like inside it.
Like you quite often see in like nature programs that there is a man dressed up badly as a bear or something like that to get in with the bears. Or
but because he's coming over the mountain, it's not Sound of Music. It's really like it's scary.
And the goat is obviously a demonic creature. Mm-hmm. The visuals of that are. I mean, can we see your bellies?
Can we see your bellies?
Look, no pouches, which ties back to season 1, where one of the other departments, I'm guessing it was Bert, said they told us we had pouches.
Yes.
They told you had pouches.
You're totally right.
To carry your young in or something like that. Yeah. I might be crazy.
I thought it was something to do with like the raising of the. I was thinking goats didn't have little pouches, but I was thinking that's kangaroo. But I thought it was something to do with the fact that they would everything that they did was like husbandry. They talk about the husbandry tanks or something like that, and everything to do with animals, and that they are children. These little innies are children, and all they know are animals and animal bodies and things, and don't understand how the human body works. It really did remind me of those early days of refinement where they didn't know that anyone else really existed on the floors.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that this reminds me of, and this is going to be a swing, have you ever seen Red Dwarf? You'll have seen episodes, I imagine, or you're aware of episodes.
People really loved Red Dwarf when I was at school, and I just didn't get it.
I loved Red Dwarf when we were at school. Yeah. So early on, you're aware that it's about the last person alive who is put in state. Right. Okay.
No.
Okay. Right. So
I know there's a cat in it.
Well,
a man dressed as a cat.
No. Right. Okay.
No?
So Red Dwarf. It's Craig Charles. Is working on a Jupiter mining ship. He's put in stasis. There is a radiation leak, and the entire crew, apart from him, is wiped out. So he wakes up 3 million years later because the radiation has gone away at that point, and he finds that the only person left is a creature which developed and evolved from his cat that he was hidden in the.
There's a hologram.
Yeah. Hologram.
Chris Barry's in it.
Chris Barry is a hologram to keep him sane. But in one of the early episodes, they meet, you go into the back lore of what's happened when in the 3 million years, and the cat was pregnant, had a litter of children, which then evolved into cat people.
Oh.
And they worship Dave Lister as like this god, Cloister the Stupid, as they call him. He always told the cat about how he was going to buy a hot dog farm a hot dog stand on Fiji which was cheap because it had sunk into the Pacific Ocean. But there is this backstory of how the cats fell out with each other about what colour the hats on the hot dog stand would be. Probably paraphrasing, it's probably 20 years since I've seen it, but it really reminds me of that, about how you've got this race of people who don't know anything else. And the joke is, there was some of them thought it was red, some of them thought it was blue, and it was meant to be green anyway. Yeah, but it's really quite profound for what is essentially a sitcom. This really reminds me of that you've got these people who are just living by what they've been told and fighting against each other. That's the only reference to Red Dwarf that I will make tonight, and probably the only reference to Red Dwarf on this that you can possibly see. But yeah, it's such a weird.
It's an odd area, and it's because it's so green as well, but still without any windows, with low ceilings. So you still got that element of claustrophobia, and the fact that they have to crawl through a white tunnel,
which reminded me of Being John Malkovich in the 13.5 floor or whatever it is. Yeah, I mean, and that's not the biggest swing that happened this episode.
Not at all.
there is a moment between Helly and Mark, and we are still looking at the theory of is innie Helly or outie Helly.
I'm not.
Are you?
No, I'm the only person in the world who thinks that Helly is Helly. Apparently, every other podcast that I've listened to, and I've listened to a lot, and all of the sort of things that buzzing around the internet say that she absolutely is, like, that Helena and Helly are the same person. And I've had DMs from people who have given me some brilliant ideas as to how Helena got into the lift and remained Helena even when she went up the severed lift. You've been the list with Lister. I just don't see it. I think all of Helly's reactions are proper reactions, as they would be if she was Helly. Yeah,
I mean, I'm thinking less of this at the minute. I think it's a great theory, but they've got some explaining to do at this point if she is. Like, Dylan is more the...
Yes, yeah.
He's more the person towing the line, and that. Let's move on to Dylan while we can.
Yeah, I forgot we've got Dylan as well.
Oh,
There's so much to talk about.
We've got Dylan, who's on good behaviour at the beginning, doesn't want to go to the new break room to drop off some leaflets of have you seen
Miss Casey?
Have you seen Gemma?
Lovely to see Irving using his artistic skills, though.
Whoa, we've not got onto Irving yet.
I know, but I'm just putting it in there.
So Dylan is led to the security room.
Yeah, which isn't the security room anymore, apparently.
And finds photos of him and his wife, and then turns around, and there's Merritt Weaver. So you knew that Merritt Weaver was going to be his wife?
Yeah,
which
Merritt
you
Weaver
mentioned it last week.
Gretchen.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Love seeing Merritt Weaver in things.
Yeah, she's such an engaging presence, isn't she? And she's not loud, she's not over the top, but you could be very over the top in that scene. She pauses a lot, there's a lot of reflection, there's a lot of sort of turn of the head, and it's thoughtfulness. She's got so much thoughtfulness in her face, which I thought worked really well with this. Yeah,
they have a conversation. I mean, I love Dylan's realization that he's not the James Bond that he is making himself out to be. Like, quote of the night, he dumb? Is he a dick?
It's very childlike, isn't it? Again?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, because he is 3 years old or however long it is. Really touching moment between the two where they hug at the end and she's led away.
She tells him she loves him, even though she's saying it to him as the whole person. Do you get the feeling that Gretchen is going to start feeling much more positive towards innie Dylan than she is towards outie Dylan?
Yes. I mean, that hadn't crossed my mind, but yeah, that totally makes sense. I mean, we then see the outie Dylan for the first time in his home situation. And it seems like she's not even mentioned to him that, like, how it had gone with Dylan.
But also she's doing that thing where, like, plot-wise and narrative-wise, she's doing that thing where she's saying to him, have you remembered this? Have you remembered that? The kids are all in front of screens.
Yeah.
He's just sat there. He's not engaging with the children in any sort of way. And he's essentially saying, no, I haven't remembered the cookies for tomorrow. And she's running around. She's being busy mum.
Yeah.
Running around. And he's being ineffectual parent.
Going out to do a night job.
Yes. See you in the morning, kids.
Obviously,
please remember to do it.
Security guard or something along those lines. And yeah, you can see... Although, having said that, I thought Dylan was quite sweet last week when we saw him.
Yeah,
it wasn't that he was... I didn't get that he would have necessarily the troubles that Dylan assumed that he would have. This, like, he was doing actually really well in the interview.
Yes, very
and
quick.
Quite charming up until meeting the judgment of being a severed employee.
I wonder if it's more the home life then that, the stress of having 3 kids. They're all very young, those kids as well.
And if she's working nights, then they will largely be solo parenting and sort of ships that pass in the night. Yeah. And Dylan comes home. Yeah, quite weird that we've actually got a normal 3.2 2.3 children, 3.2. Yeah.
2.4 was the
2.4
sitcom.
Children. Thank you. That's what I was
Do you
looking
really
for.
Want it?
Yeah, 2.4 children to look after, and compared to Irving.
Well, we don't get much of Irving this
No.
week. I didn't feel, although I thought his catch up with Felicia really surprised me. I thought, because Felicia, we saw her with Bert last series, was really scared of the other department. She was cowering, she almost like growling at them sort of thing. But here you see a softer Felicia hugging Irving. Clearly she misses Bert, he misses Bert, she knows what was going on. Bert took 2 hours to get his hair done to go and see Irving, you know, all of those sorts of things, and they share this lovely friendship, which I really really liked. I thought that rang true to me, that if you both missed the same person, even though you're from different sort of necks of the wood essentially, and you might not have got on to begin with because of these ideas that you might have had about each other, that you could see that actually you would come together over that joint friendship. And also the fact that she's working in like the art section. There's your phone. The art section. Mark's phone goes off every night and I never know why. It's this weird, it's this nightly thing where it makes this little noise. I'm like, but what is it? What is it reminding you of?
I've told you what it is.
I know, but I just don't get it.
It's my phone going into sleep mode.
Night? It's telling you night.
It's not telling me night. No, my phone is going into sleep mode, so I don't get notifications after like this time, which is
bizarre.
9:15.
It's a strange noise. It's like a child. Dun, dun, dun. Anyway. Felicia is also the point I was going to make before the phone went off. Felicia is like, she really loves his art as well, and because she works in an art department and he's drawing, and I just thought it was really, you could have cut that, couldn't you? You could have just got rid of some of it.
Yeah, it could be in any sort of just standard film of two people missing an old friend.
Yeah.
Irv's made a flick book of Bert by the looks of it. These pictures that slightly change each time. I'm worried about where it's going to go if we get long enough in there.
I was like, as we were going along, I was like, where is this going? But actually, I get it. It's what I really love about Severance is the fact that everything leads to something else. So he goes to see Felicia. They look at his little flick book, and at the end, there's that picture of the hallway. She recognises the hallway, and she calls it the export.
How do you know about the exports hall?
The exports hall, and they used to take things down there. I mean, export suggests that things are going.
Well, I mean, that would make sense, wouldn't it? If there's I think abroad to the innies is the outy world.
Yeah.
So I mean, and now there's a man that comes and does it.
Yeah. So a man, and who is this man? And will we see this man? I think we probably will. I hope he's not dressed in a goat coat.
Speaking of art, can we talk about Milchek?
Yeah, how very profound. I found that disturbing, as he said, meaningful. So much face acting going on between Trammell, Tillman, and the actress that plays Natalie.
Yes,
who I don't know the name of, but I will learn.
I don't know the name of, but I'm going to look it up now. Natalie comes. Sydney Cole Alexander.
Okay.
Natalie comes and has brought him some pictures.
Yeah, did you know what they were?
So, are these pictures of Milchek adapted into the times of Kia?
Yeah, these are the Kia. These are the key Kia artworks that you would find round the, so the big one that I recognise was, Kia sick as a child.
Yes.
And we've seen that because Bert and Irving have talked about that one, and essentially they've changed Kia to a black man.
What was your reading of the emotion of Milchek at this point?
I think conflicted.
Yeah, I mean there is no. Yeah,
it's really really complex, isn't it?
Incredibly acted. There was to me it felt a little bit of anger about it, but also not. You look confused by that.
Yeah, no, I'm doing the same thing as you. I'm like, I'm thinking back and trying to place the emotions, and I think it's when Natalie says to him inclusive, and I heard inclusive or inclusivity.
Yes,
I knew where it was going, and I wonder whether it's well, I know it is. It's an exploration of someone. Essentially saying, we want to make you feel included, and in doing that, othering you more than ever before.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah.
That's how I felt. And the fact that he puts it on a high shelf at the end, I think that showed me his true emotions.
Yeah.
But mixed, because what if you've never seen yourself? And as he says, to see yourself reflected in the world in which you inhabit, to see yourself reflected is a powerful thing.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean to say that it's one-dimensional.
Yes.
There's so much going on there.
Yeah.
And it's the look she gives it when she says, "Oh, the board has allowed me to tell you that I also received this gift." It's the mouth. It's her mouth acting.
Yes.
That I thought was just
it's that smile.
The smile, but it also looked like it could be a cry, and it could, and the twitching of the lips. Yeah, I would love to hear from Tremel Tillman as to the thought processes and what he feels Milchek is going through. And the only thing that I don't normally talk about the Ben Stiller and Adam Scott podcast, but I listened to the episode with him in because I think he's got a fascinating history. I think he was the first black person to graduate from an acting school, like something like 10 years ago or something ludicrously recent, and they couldn't believe it, and it was like these things. And they talked about race in that, and he said that what he had asked the producers and the writers is, does Milchek know he's black? And that was the question that he asked, and I was thinking of that when we watched. He said, does he know he's a black man? And I thought that was absolutely fascinating. So
okay, yeah. I mean, I had my meeting with the board this evening.
Did you?
Yes. Right. Because when I was watching that scene, this isn't the first podcast you've recorded tonight.
Oh yes, okay.
And I had to go and fix the internet in your room.
Yes,
and so I waved hello to Dawn and Sarah from the Made for TV podcast, and you turned around and said, "They say hello," because you had your headphones on. I was like, "Holy shit!
Yeah,
I've lived this."
This is my second podcast of the night, hence why I probably don't sound particularly articulate. But yeah, I was recording the latest Made for TV podcast with Dawn and Sarah, and Mark had to come in and sort my IT out. But yeah, you couldn't hear them, but you could see them on the screen, and I was relaying the information back.
I'd have preferred it if it was just a little speaker that I was talking to.
I know that with a crackly voice. Is there anyone there? Who's the board? Do you think it's James Egan, which is Helly's dad?
Well,
because I thought Helly was the board.
But Helly can't be the board because half the time we've seen the board, Helly has been Innie.
And then she says at the end, I know we're jumping on to Cobell, but she says to Cobell, let's go and talk to the board, sort of thing. Who is the board? That's another mystery.
I don't think there's any more guest stars that we haven't seen yet. Is there on new cast
I don't
members?
know any other actors that are due to come up, so that's good.
So let's move on to Mrs. Cobell. We see her driving, going to like a Salt Neck. Was it?
Yeah, so I was about to say deck, but it's neck.
Salt's Neck. It could be Salt Deck. Yeah.
And it's, no, I think you're right. I think it's Salt's Neck, and it was 258 miles.
And then she
away.
Spins the car away and turns around. We then later on see her in the car park approaching Helly as she's leaving.
Guess question.
Yes.
I don't understand what's happened here, because Cobell seems to say about them asking her back. Has she had a phone call asking her back, or is she just turning around and saying, actually, I'll come back, but I'll only come back if I can be on the floor?
No, but that was in the previous episode.
Yeah, it just didn't seem to
they
quite
offered her a
connect.
job.
Yeah.
They offered her a job in a different floor. She said she wanted to be on she should be managing the severed floor.
Yep.
And then she obviously didn't want to work anywhere else. So she packed up and left. That's my understanding of it. I don't think we've not seen her say, and I am leaving and packing up, but saw her drive off. She obviously then she's come back and demands to Helly that she fires Milchek and
that's not
gives
gonna
her
happen.
own job back. She says, let's convene the board or whatever. They go towards the office, but then Cobell realizes she's scared. She's scared and leaves.
Yeah. Do you think she thinks that they're going to disappear her?
Yes.
Yeah,
That seems
I think
to be
Yeah.
she might be right.
I think she might be right.
Yeah.
I mean, you wouldn't trust them, would you? These episodes seem to be really dark. There's hardly any. I think I said this last time. There's hardly any time spent in the day. It's all snowy, dark. You know, she wakes up in her car, and I know it's the morning, but it's still really, really grim. And then we're having these scenes in a car park late at night where Helly's about to bob off home.
Yeah, because it's presumably the winter by the snow on the ground, and when you're during the winter, like you are in work. Like I go to work and it's dark. I leave work and it's dark, so I don't see daylight.
Yeah.
Apart from when I go and walk around town and
But
yeah,
but
go to Greg's for a sausage roll.
It was scary though, isn't it? If you're thinking, you know, you're in this dark car park, you're going towards the office, you know, if you have any worries that it would heighten them to be in that situation.
There are places I would rather be than walking towards an office with someone who I don't trust and
their bodyguard.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I didn't get to see Mr. Drummond this week. Very sad.
No, different security guard. Yeah.
Well, I should maybe a chauffeur. I don't know what Cobell is going to do now. I'm still intrigued by the babies, the little thing that goes around a wrist of a baby or a leg of a baby when they're born.
Yes,
because the dates don't make any sense. The date on the wristband, let's call it, is like from the 1950s, which suggests that it's her wristband, and there's a breathing apparatus, which then suggests that an illness or a prematurity or, you know, something like that. And I don't understand, because that's the only thing she's taken in the car. I don't know where that is going, but it's clearly something that's going to come out at some point, because why would we be having
a
reminder of it? Yeah. Why are we having a reminder of it? I don't get that.
Oh, I mean, I can join up the dots now because, you know, it's.
Do you what dots do you think
well,
you're joining?
I mean,
Do you think it's her?
No.
Do you think it's someone else? Maybe. Do you think
it's not her and it's not someone else, then
do you think it might be a twin? Do you think it might be a multiple?
I just these things follow us around. Don't
they?
So,
they do. That's true. You know what? Really weirdly, given that you've said that, and given that I've seen 2 sets of twins today, and thought, oh, here we go again. I did not think of that. Did not think of that at all. Right, well, of course it's not her name, but you know, I thought, oh, maybe she's changed her name, maybe she's been adopted or something, because it's got, I think it says Charlotte or something like that.
Charlotte,
yeah. Oh, okay, right, okay. I'll be prepared for that.
Yeah,
I'll be prepared. But
crackpot theory of the week.
Yeah. Given that there's a lot of chat around, and the Severance team have come out and said, oh, we wouldn't be doing that, but there's a lot of chat around cloning and genetics and things like that. I wouldn't be surprised. And also the credits, the new credits just have babies everywhere, don't they? So I wouldn't be surprised if we see more of that.
And then finally, Outie Mark.
What is going on there? I just don't understand what next week, you know, it reminds me of the final episode.
Yes.
Where all of that went on.
Everything changed on the final episode
of the last series. And then you had to wait 3 years. And that's what it reminds me of. It reminds me of that sort of cut off, but really early in episode 3.
Episode 3. What the
I loved though that process. I loved going back to the protocol. I loved him answering the questions, not being able to remember the colour of his mum's eyes, which was just funny, and her going, oh, for God's sake, really?
Yeah, I mean, I think my mum's got brown eyes. She won't listen. Yeah, I think she does. Yeah, pretty sure.
Okay. I'm going to think about that. What colour are my eyes? Oh, I mean, you're looking at me.
Brown.
So they're not brown.
That's hazel.
They're hazel.
I mean, hazel's
With a
brown.
ring of fire.
Hazel's brown.
Yeah. It's more greeny brown. I loved that process. I loved seeing the lines. It was far less invasive than I presumed it would be.
It was. Can I raise some issues around this?
Go on then.
If I'd seen Petey die,
yes,
I wouldn't be just. Oh, go on then. Oh, you've improved it now, have you?
Okay, but if you thought, oh, man, this is the wrong example. This is the wrong
I
example.
see
Sorry.
where this is going.
Let me flip it back on me. If I thought you were dead, right? If I was on my own and I thought you were dead and I was in a deep, dark depression and full of grief, and then someone told me that you were in a building that I work in and you'd been there for, and you were alive, and I was so desperate to say you would, in that moment, like maybe without even thinking it through properly, in that moment you would go, yes, I want to see my husband who I thought was dead. You just would.
I'd get a few holidays out of the way first. You wouldn't let me go on.
Fair enough, but I can understand his reaction.
Yes.
In that context.
I think it was just... It might just be that I didn't expect the show to go, okay, right, we're going to...
No, same here. But yeah, I love that, how the two minds melded together and he was getting little flashes of what's your first memory, and loved it. I absolutely loved it. I just think it's placed in a really bizarre place.
Little cameo for Yul Vasquez doing the questions.
Who's Yul?
It's PT.
It's PT. It's PT. Yes, yeah.
And then Natalie visits Rickon.
Oh, Rickon. I mean, this is... It's totally Rickon, isn't it? So, I mean, I do recognise quite a bit of it. Someone comes to you and says, oh, we really love we love your book. We want to make... I mean, we'll make some tweaks to it. You just would be like, oh, it's great. Fine. They need to cut it, they need to edit it in a certain way for these particular people. But someone's giving me attention for my work. I know how Rickon feels.
And also, I mean, he has been validated by Innie Mark when he visited him. But yeah, should we say politely 1984 and not anything even more sinister?
Yeah. And Natalie is her big eyes and the way she speaks to Devon. You must be very proud. I am.
It's it is. It's George Orwell, isn't it? It's Animal Farm. It is 1984.
But Rickon's just gonna lap this up.
Of course he is, because it's someone blowing smoke up your ass.
He's he's gonna be a Lumen man, isn't he? He's gonna from someone who was like very, I don't really know about this and Severance and we don't understand why you did it, and all of his mates being like, but in a very intellectual way. He's now I feel he's being brought over to the dark side.
Yeah, absolutely. Did we see Bert at all this episode?
No.
Apart from in sketch form.
In his little flip book. No, we didn't. So we haven't seen Outie Irving.
So yeah.
And I love that. I love the fact that Irving, they've kept something quiet with the outies. Like, Outie Mark, we're getting a lot of Outie Dylan, but they're not just chucking everything at us.
Yes.
And still Helena as well, Outie Helly. We don't know anything about her home life. We haven't been to her home. And these are things that I think that lead me to believe, although I still haven't quite got my head around how we're ending episode 3 in this place, that there's a lot more to come. We've still got the Bert and Irving Outie relationship. We've still got knowing more about Helena. I think we might find out more about Natalie. I'd love to see more about Milchek, and to understand more about that reaction to the Kia pictures, because he's clearly really into this cult. Like, he is fully on board, in my view.
Yeah.
With Lumen, with Kia. He, let Kia guide your hand. He's right into it, and yet we've seen in the past how he's wavered ever since. You could see that there is some empathy there. I don't know. Is he going to do a bit of a Cobell in times to come, where she has been indoctrinated into this ideology, but now seems to be going a little bit rogue?
Yeah.
You know,
I
and
can-
what's going to happen with
yeah.
her? I really, is she going to team up with Mark now that he is both of him? You know? And how's that going to play out when he goes to work?
I mean, it's just the fact this absolutely changes the entire makeup of the show to have him integrated. And it does make you wonder if Mark survives this season.
I know. Yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah, it's...
With that hand trembling when she's
Yes.
got, oh, sorry. I have perfected this, but not
that's
as much.
never yeah.
It's not a good sign, is
I
it?
mean, does Mark survive the next couple of episodes?
Mm.
Is Mark gonna make it through to the end?
Is this going to be like, there are other shows that I can think of where there's been a big death, and either a big death quite early on or a big death when it was not expected. I do wonder whether we're going to get that.
Ned Stark.
Yeah,
Spoilers.
thank you.
We have some correspondence.
Do we?
We do.
Wow,
We
this is
have
exciting.
we have a guest theory of the week. Crackpot theory of the week.
Go on then.
So, friend of the show, Neil A. You don't have to be called Neil to write into this show,
That's true.
but it does
yeah,
help.
I was thinking, would it be?
Yeah.
Is it Neil J or Neil A?
It's Neil A. So he wrote to me on Instagram at Mark_Greg. And his theory actually quite works. So we were talking last week about how Mark S. Why did they want him back so badly and things like that.
Cold Harbour.
What they are what they are saying, what Neil is saying, is he thinks that Mark S. has a different chip into everyone else,
Oh.
and that Mark is this is an experiment, and this is to see if the chip can overcome love.
Oh, okay. What do you mean that love can overcome the chip? Do you mean?
Well, that might be the case for who knows.
Okay.
If they've, it's not my theory,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it
yeah.
could be that in other offices they have seen love over, and this is a new chip that's able to. So that's why they've put Miss Casey in there.
Right, okay.
He theorizes that Miss Casey is in on it, but has been severed and faked the death.
Oh, right, a fakey death.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then put them together to
see
observe.
what happens.
And now the Revolution's got the management of Lumen worried, and that's why they
Yeah.
need him back.
Oh, that's interesting, isn't it? To think that she might be in on it.
I mean, I was really hoping this wasn't spoiled by when they're reintegrating Rugabi going, oh, you've got a different chip to everyone else.
yeah.
But no, I think that's a really, really
That's
good theory.
really interesting, isn't it?
I'm not sure if I'm entirely aboard it, but yeah, it's good.
I think it would be incredibly cruel for someone to fake their death and to put someone through that misery and then to wait until they're so miserable and they've done terrible, because Mark's sister says, he went back to work, that didn't end well, sort of thing, which suggests that, he really, really went off the rails to the point where he thought the only way he could get out of it was to sever himself, to give his innie a chance of life. I feel that's a very, very cruel twist if she's in on it.
Maybe she had some holidays that she wanted to go on.
Maybe you're just thinking of yourself.
Maybe I am. Well, thanks for getting in touch, Neil. And if anyone else wants to get in touch, like I said before, my Instagram is Mark_Greg.
And mine
doesn't
is-
look the most active account in the world, but my millennial mate's sending me memes on there, so I'm always checking it.
And mine is what is mine?
Elaine
Mine is
G. Wright.
Elaine G. Wrights. I nearly put an underscore in there. That's what I was like, hang on. Yeah, at Elaine G. Wrights, but we've got all of our details in the show notes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I put it in every week.
Shows how much I read them.
Yeah, thanks, Mark.
Well, anyway, thanks for listening. We'll be back next week. Considering I was a bit speechless going into this, I think we've gone longer than we normally do on this, which probably
it's
testament
a
to
very long,
how much
instant reaction.
Yeah. Probably testament how much there was to fucking react to. And next week, let's see if they've got anywhere to go with this show.
Wow, I have no idea where this is going.
Isn't that nice?
I hope the goats are okay. That was my big worry, that there was going to be something horrible happening to the goats, but they seem very healthy.
They've got grass, they're happy.
Yeah,
They've got plenty of
a bit
places
of
to run around.
outside space would be better.
Hill
I
goat
feel.
farming.
Okay. And on that note,
See you next week.